Hey friends, welcome back. So it's been a couple of days since I got the Polyend Synth. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what Polyend Synth is and why I got it to add to my SP404 workflow. There's a lot that it can do and a lot it can't do, but I think it's implied in the name. It is a synth. It's not a groove box. Its grid layout looks like a groove box, right? Similar to the circuit tracks, which I have over here. But this grid is actually split into 3 separate grids, and you can customize the layout by going over to the grid, and you can change the way that it is laid out into all these different kinds of ways. So we'll leave it at the 3x3, but each of these individual colors is its own synth. So you get 3 synths in one. And that, for me, is what really drew me to it, because I'm looking, as we get to the end of the year, I'm kind of thinking plans for 2025, and I really want to start performing more live sets. And I've done a lot with the SP404, just using sound generator to perform live and stuff, but I want to add more performance, and I don't want to lug all of these synths behind me. So having 3 in 1 that you can quickly play around with all at the same time really intrigued me. So Polyend did send this over, but they have no say in this video or the contents. For now, let's go to the synths. So I have this little chord pack on synth 3 or synth 2. And you'll notice here, every time I hit a new chord, synth 3 changes its layout. And that's because the mode for synth 3 is follower. So if we start on this note, I'll play this little arpeggio. And if we hold shift, we can latch it. So it just keeps playing, and I can go over to filter, change the filter a little bit. But now watch, when I start playing different chords, the arpeggio will change. See? So we've got a mixer so we can control the 3 different things. We have 3 different types of effects. If you hit shift and mixer, you can see you've got a mod, a delay, and a reverb. I really like the reverb, but I'm also using the SP for effects as well. So we can get a lot here with all of that. And then if you go to scenes, that's basically their projects. Now, one of the things I do want to talk about is that, like I mentioned, it's kind of this in-between of a synth and a groove box. Performative groove box is kind of how I'm calling it, but there's no pattern sequencer or like song mode. You can do sequencers on individual synths. You can program, play this note, then this note, and then when you hit a note, it plays that sequence. But there's no sort of song mode. And that's why, for me, I've really been drawn to it, because I want to get back to playing. It's just so awesome to just kind of like experiment with all these different sounds all at once. I think the power of this grid is the ability here to just be able to play multiple things at once, because on a normal synth or something, it can get a little you're a little limited, right? And here I can have this and my SP. So for ambient type of stuff, I've got the effects. I could add noise sounds with sound generator or something. But what I've been doing a lot is actually combining these two in a weird way. I've been using the looper to make very just chaotic drum loops, unquantized, and then just kind of jamming on top of that. So that's how I've started. And what I want to explore later is using something like the Digitakt to sequence maybe one of these ARPs so that we have something controlled in a BPM. But I haven't gone there yet. I wanted to keep it kind of simple. We've got Edoardo in the chat, a channel member. What's going on? Says, given some of the CPU limitations I have read about this instrument, does it have MIDI out plus audio return capability to use an external synth and save precious internal resources? I know there's MIDI in and out. I haven't checked it out yet. I think you're probably better off doing MIDI in, though, with this one to control it, and then having something like long term, Edoardo, my goal here is to have basically 3 pieces of gear. The Digitakt, which will be my MIDI brain, the SP, which will hold longer samples and be some effects like the end of the routing, and then this to be performative, but also have the ability to be controlled by the Digitakt. So like I could have instead of holding an ARP like this, right? If this was an ARP, I could have the Digitakt sequencing that every bar so that it's on time. And then I would perform with 2. Because performing 3 synths at once is doable on this for sure. But if you're trying to change things and do effects, you kind of need one of those hands to do changes and things like that. So, yeah. And hopefully that answers your question, Edoardo. From there, though, I think we'll go and start just talking a little bit of sound design, and then we'll find some drums without Kodama on it. I like this drum sound, so maybe we'll start with that, actually. Let's just get some drums down. So, again, there's 2 ways I could go about it. We'll do the loop, because I like this kind of... What I've really loved about the synth, spoiler alert, I guess we'll get to my first impressions first as we do this, is that it really brought the joy back into just jamming. So with DAWless gear, and you can let me know in the chat if you feel similar, but a lot of times with the SP or with the Digitakt, you either perform something really quickly, make it a loop, and then it just is sequenced and keeps playing, or, you know, you record a sample and it just triggers. But with this, you can't do that, right? At least not in this setup we're doing, where I'm not sending MIDI in or anything. It's all about performing. And as a guitarist, first and foremost, it really brought that kind of joy back into the improv, the messiness of it, but also just the free form of it, that you can just move things around and play what you want and just embrace that kind of chaos and stuff. So that's what we'll do. I like having the drums be a little more wonky, so I think we'll do, let's say, 96 BPM, and we'll just record something in. A couple more chats. Francisco asks, can it control CV out, or you need MIDI to CV to connect to Eurorack mods? I'm not sure. I don't have Eurorack. I can look into it and get back. This is first impressions, basically just how I've been using it so far to get into it. But in the new year, I'll be doing a full review and all that. So I will put that in the notes to cover that in my full review. Eduardo says, perhaps you can use the SP for sequencing. You could. I just personally don't like sequencing with the SP404. I like something with the Digitakt, where you can have all those different channels, and then I can control multiple things at once. So like the end goal here for my live setup is going to be probably Digitakt as the brain, SP as long samples, sound generators, stuff like that if I need it, but also effects, and then the mastering chain, which we'll get into at the end, and then the Polyend Synth as like my performance tool, so I can add to it. I'll probably have a live set with just these 2 out in the new year, though, because I'm working on something. But yeah, so you can do MIDI out with the SP, but I'm just not the biggest fan of programming MIDI on the SP. That's like, as much as I think the SP is a jack of all trades, I think that's the one thing that just like I'm not really the biggest fan of. But yeah, let's get these drums down real quick. And we could also add effects. One of the reasons I want to do this over the pattern is we could put on effects per overdub, and then we're going to copy it in. So now the hi-hats, which maybe we don't want the hi-hats to be without lo-fi, but I'm just going to change the effects a little bit more. Yeah, I like that. Okay, that's a simple enough groove. That's all I wanted. Just a simple groove that we're going to make a loop out of. So I'll put it on... Let's actually keep it where the drums are, because we may need to do some quick sounds or something. So we'll go to copy, and I'm going to put it on 7. And we don't want that reverb on it, so I'm going to put it to bus 2. We have to get out of looper. And then I'm just going to shut off gate and turn on loop. And it's going to be a perfect loop. So it'll just keep playing, right? Perfect. Okay, so let's go into a new scene. Go to an initial sequence or an initial setup. We're going to go scene and then hit init, which is the initial. I'm not going to save this. So now we have 3 of the same synth in different octaves, and it's this grid setup. This is my preferred grid setup because I like to either have chords or bass here, a lead here, and like arpeggios here, so you kind of get the space that you need. I haven't really done a lot in terms of like having a bass, but you can also overdub or create loops and then have that you could pad link or something like that. So let's start with the chords here. So I'm gonna go to Shift and Scene, which is preset, and we need to be on actually the we're on synth 2, so we need to go to synth 1, and it's blue as the color shows. So we'll go here, and I'm gonna check out, they have grains, and on this channel we've done a lot with the granular engine on the P6. So I think we'll try that for chords. I saw a cool one earlier. It was like Minor Ghost or something. Let's see. This one. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so we're gonna go and on the engine first, I'm gonna go to the third page because that's pretty quiet. So I up the volume a little bit. Gavin says, oh no, I don't need to be seeing more content to hype me about this one, especially right before Christmas. I'm a broke music student with bills to pay. I know, I know what you mean. But it is a really awesome synth, but it depends really on like kind of your workflow and stuff, but I've been having a lot of fun. I mean, I think the best way to describe this synth is it's fun. It like brought joy in just performing again, as you'll see as we kind of get into it. Anyways, from there, let's get over to back on the engine. I'm gonna change the filter around a little bit, open it up. So I wanna go to the granular engine basically. I'm using P6 lingo, but just we're gonna go and check out engine here, the first synth engine, the blue one, and we've got this granular sound. So I'm gonna just mess around a little bit. I actually already really like that sound. FX says volume is low. No, I don't know. Everybody else in the chat, let me know. Yeah, vocals way higher than synth. Okay, let me drop, or let me raise this. Something might have changed. Oh wow, it did change for sure. Here we go. You guys hearing it now? Let me know if you guys are hearing it better. All right, let's put the drums on. Is that better? Let me know if that's louder. Yeah, okay, perfect, yeah. All right, let me know if it's gotta be louder, we'll do it, no problem at all. I think something changed in the Streamlabs settings when we went live, so let me know. I appreciate you all letting me know though. Where else in the chat were we though? Gavin says, can enjoy through your playing and love my SP404 as well. I've been really trying to move to something halfway between sequencing and playing using loops. Have you used 404 Looper with it? That's how I built this drum, and we're gonna get into that after we do some sound design, Gavin. So yeah, we'll get there. Good now. Okay, awesome. If anything changes, let me know. I don't know how that happened, but I'm glad we got it fixed. We will also add bus 3 and 4, which is gonna add some volume, but I wanna get the sounds kind of there before we do that. All right, so we've got this chord. I like this kind of pattern. And then we've got, this is probably in C, but we could check if we go to hit this knob and go to, I believe it's grid. Yeah, we can see we're in C minor. So we could move things around or we can leave it. If we wanted to do that follow thing we did near the start, you could change the mode. You have to set one though to a chord pack. I'm not going to do chord packs right now because we've already got our kind of chords, so we'll just go with that. But I will get into that in the review when we get into that next year, or in the new year, I should say. That sounds so far away, but it's really not right now. All right, I like the synth we've got, so we'll go. We've got the drums. Let's start figuring out this synth. I actually really like the sound of that synth, so I think we're going to stick with this default setting, but we're going to make some changes if we go into the engine. It's all saw. We're gonna add a little square wave, a little mix. Psych Rock is in the chat. What's going on? How are you, man? We'll add a little sub. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, let's get, I don't want any noise. We can change the sub a little bit. Ooh, let's do a triangle. So it's a little quieter, the sub. Okay, and let's see if we hit engine again, we get a little glide. Let's add a little glide. That's too much. I just want to pinch. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, and then if we go into the filter, I'm just going to change it around a little bit, not so much envelope. I want a bit of a mellower filter. And then we'll go into the envelope. And I'm going to add just a little attack. And I want some release, really. That's what I want to add. A little more. Yeah, I like that. Okay, then let's check out what we can do with some delay on there. So the delay, you get all these options you like gotta move through. It takes me a minute to figure it out. Here's the sequencer, so we can do an ARP or sequence. We'll probably do an ARP with that third one. If we go into Shift, Mixer, here's our effects. So we'll put on, first we'll throw on a little mod. I'm gonna shut off bus 1's reverb. This is it without that SX reverb. And then we'll put on some delay. I'm gonna turn on all these delays and stuff first so we can hear it. There's the reverb. That's a lot of reverb. There's the delay. So the delay's doing a little trippy little thing. So let's change that first. There's a lot of modulation on there. Let's do let's do 8D and maybe a quarter and see what happens with that. Yeah, and then we need to find where all that mod is. There's some flutter. I doubt that's doing all of that though. Maybe it is, but maybe it's this model. Yeah, let's do dual. So that was on triple tap, I think. Let's do ping pong's cool. That'll work. All right, I like that. Okay, now let's go. I think I like that soft sound. Let's get into this third one, and I think we will get a different sound. So if we want to change the preset, hit Shift Scene, and there's all of these sounds, all these different kind of engines. There's one I really like. There it is, Bakuma. I don't know if that's a Boards of Canada reference from that song. I guess it is kind of similar to the Trax synth. Does sound a little like SH101-y or something. But I think for me right now it's a little loud. I'm going to just take this one down a little bit. And we can also mix things in the mixer. But I like to have that control. So let's throw on a little delay on this one. And some reverb. And then we're going to go to the filter. This one I'm going to raise the amp envelope. I'm going for like an arpeggio, I think, with this. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Okay, let me go into the ADSR. And on the envelope, we're going to drop it. That should work. So if we turn on the arpeggiator, we're gonna mess with the groove. That's pretty cool. We can add some humanization. Swing. That's getting crazy. Let's drop that groove a little bit. And we can change the rate, obviously. But that doesn't work with the chords we have, so we need probably that, and we'll just drop it an octave. And we can change the octave range. That'll work. Okay, let's change the octave range. So to get there, I gotta remember, I think it's if we go to synth, yeah. No, not synth. We need to go to grid, and then we can change the root. So it's on C1, so we'll drop it to C2. So I think we'll raise the lead up to C3. That'll work. Okay, we'll stick with that. Okay, and I want to change that sequence around a bit more on the arpeggiator, at least. That got crazy wonky, so. Let's do like an eighth. And we'll do. I think we're not in the BPM that the drum was at. So the drum was at 96, so we'll just go to tempo. Yeah, we're at like 128 and go to 96. Let's drop that filter a little bit. Hearing kind of the sounds. We are using this grain, so like everything's kind of taken out of whack. Maybe we won't even use that arpeggio. I like to kind of have something stick though underneath. We can take off some of the delay though. That should work, and then we'll just drop that down. That should work. Bob says, I read a lot of bad reviews about Polyend software. It seems it crashes very often. Yeah, this is my first time with a Polyend piece of gear. They did add a firmware update. It's a beta that I have. I can't say I haven't had any issues yet, but I always say that with the SP and then it crashes while we're live, so something could happen. I don't know, but yeah, I've heard that they kind of they do a lot of firmware updates and things like that, so that'll work. Let's throw on the drums. Yeah, there we go. Okay. I like that. I would probably change the ARP a little bit more, but I don't want to spend much more time on it right now. I would probably... I like where the ARP is. I think I'd change the sound a little bit. I'm tempted to try a different setting, but then I don't want to lose the one we have. It's like the eternal struggle, right? But I think we'll keep that right there. So let's talk incorporating this into workflow, right? Someone, it might have been Gavin, mentioned looping and things like that. We could totally do that. So we made this in the looper, and PsychRock, you get 3 tracks. PsychRock asks, how many tracks do you get with this? It's 3. The grid is the 3 synths that we can control, and we can change the shape of the grid, all types of things. There's like, it's deep, the rabbit hole you can go down changing things. The layout, scale, the root, you can change if one of these is doing chords, and then if it's doing chords, another one can follow. I kind of covered that at the start. You can check it out when we're done in the part. Like, you can have chords, and then the arpeggiator will follow and change the notes that it's arpeggiating like as it goes. It's really cool how deep you can go down the rabbit hole with it. But for this, like, I'm keeping it a little simpler for our own sound design. But there's a lot of really cool presets and stuff like that. But back to the SP, we could pattern sequence, right? Because that would give us a little more control. But I like building with the looper. We made this drum in the looper, and then we can just kind of turn it on and off just by doing the loop button, completely different from the looper. If we wanted to as well, I could record one of these synths in and have that as an extra that we could trigger and just stop triggering and stuff like that. But this is what I mean, where like starting out, I really like this whole live aspect where like nothing is a pattern and all that. And I think over time I would get there, but I really like just kind of like, okay, let's just turn on you know, this, let's get that. Oh, and let's put on bus 3 and 4. It is going to get a little louder, so I'm going to take it down just a little. But let me know if it got too quiet. Let me know, chat. But so we got that, right? I'm going to just set the DJ looper, so we'll do a little thing. So we could do... And then if we wanted to get that arpeggio in, we could. That arpeggio is so grooved. And another thing too, I think that's basically the track, and that's kind of what I wanted to show, is that that's like, it's just all about just jamming, right? And just having fun and just playing. We can test out some other presets and things like that, but this is, I wanted to build to save this scene, though. We're gonna go scene, save, and it makes this keyboard. And I don't know if you can see, but it's got the QWERTY keys right there, so we could type, and this is like for reference, like you can see F and J are here. So let's just do, we'll delete this and we'll name it, I don't know, wonky. Find the O. Wonky. That's a T. We'll just name it wonky because it is pretty wonky with that arpeggio. But I really love that it has a granular setting. I thought I had saw that granular was monophonic, but it's actually polyphonic. If you look, if I hold it, we're doing 2 chords at once. And you can also, in the, if you go to synth, you can change how many voices it's going to play and all that type of stuff. I think it's 8 voice polyphony shared. I might be wrong. It might be more. Again, these are just my first impressions, but yeah, so we can change the mix, we can change the pan of each of these. So if you wanted to kind of have like 2 left and right or something, you could totally do that. From there, I think we've got this scene saved, so we'll end the jam or the live stream with this. I do want to just say, if you dig these sounds, they will be up for channel members at the Solar Sailor tier. So if you want to check that out, the join button is right there next to subscribe. And then at the Stargazer tier, you get all the jams that we make, like in pro shot quality, all that type of stuff, and my cheat sheets. I am going to make a cheat sheet for synth because there is so much here, and it's a really awesome just like companion to a sampler or a sequencer or something like that. Anyways, from there, let's check out some presets and see. I want to kind of get some sort of like ambient vibe before we kind of end. So Wonky is our preset that we made, or scene. We'll leave it at that. Let's find one that we can do something. Ancient Shrine. That sounds like an ambient track, but it could be real trippy. Yeah, that's not what I'm looking for, but that is cool for like that real trippy sound. Let's go maybe this one. You'll find there's a lot of really interesting kind of chord settings on these. Winter could be good. Let's see. Oh, here's the follow. You can see. Hear how it changes. Let's try Aqua. Yeah, you can see it's following along and all that type of stuff. I just want to find, there was one that was really good for like a nice ambient sound, but you can get a taste of kind of what's possible on these engines. Here we go. So we have this sort of, and we can see what they're doing and then reverse engineer it for our own patterns and things like that. So we have this granular sound piano field. Let's put that latched. I'm gonna get a little noise on here. Let's latch this one too, and let's put on the filter. Oh, they've got a notch. Interesting. We're gonna go with a low pass though. Yeah, I like that. What I mean, you can just get lost in the sounds and just kind of latching sounds and seeing what happens. So it's a lot of fun in that sense. All right, I think that pretty much is everything I want to explore and cover in these kind of first impressions in terms of sound design. If you've got, let me shut off that 404 noise. If you've got any questions, we will put them in the chat and I'm happy to cover them. But yeah, basically how I'm using it to start is I'm just using this looper, creating drum sounds and then just playing live on top of it, because to me that's like the joy of this synth, is having the ability to just move around it and play all these different things at once. What I think to expand on just this workflow is kind of build patterns where I would maybe loop a couple of other sounds, you know, like I would if we go back to wonky. No, we don't want to save that one. Let's go here. We'll hit no because we don't want to save that one. If we go back to wonky. So with this one, I would probably, let's say, record. We'll delete that loop that we had. Let's throw on the synth. I think we're going to need 4 measures though, actually. There we go. So we would take that, copy that to here. And I need to shut off gate actually on this one and turn on loop. So now we have that loop. We could free that up and then we could do hit that on the wrong spot. I meant to hit this one. And so that would free up more, and then what we could do from there is pattern sequence, build up patterns with those. Like we could just sequence this one and then have it where both of these are playing, do all that type of stuff. And from there you could even just do all pattern sequencing, and that would give a lot more flexibility, but you'd have to do either a song chain or perform, you know, like perform the patterns and things like that. That's how basically I'm gonna keep going with this setup. I'm planning to do a live set with this, taking some of my favorite songs made in 2024 and then like start the year with this and perform some stuff on top and then have patterns that I song or pattern chain and do that. That's, I think, the best way to kind of combine this combo. But I really just love this like raw, wonky, just make loops, no quantize, and then just jam on top of it, right? We've got that, and we can just play on top. Like, I just love that. It's so much fun to just do that. And that's what I mean, that it kind of brought back this joy of just improv and having fun and things like that. From there, what I do want to do, though, is take that Digitakt and actually sequence at least one of these sounds. Because I think having MIDI sync long-term would be pretty awesome. Being able to at least control one, like the lead, right? I could sequence that using a sequencer, as we were talking, Koala, SP, but I want to do the Digitakt, and then I can perform. So it's like the more you can record and then open up, you can just make like full-on songs with this tiny little setup. And I mean, both of these are rather large, but like this is pretty thin. It's going to fit in a backpack pretty easily, like with the SP. So that's what I like, is that this can be a pretty portable setup. And then depending on how intensive I want the prep time to be, it can do ridiculously full songs, or it can be these kind of jams that we've done. Again, if I was to do the full songs, like I would keep recording these ideas as separate stems, basically. Like here's the synth stem, and then I'd record maybe the lead too, and then I could set patterns that have different variations of what's playing, and I can bounce between that, and then I have 3 whole new synths that I could program to play on top of. So it's like the sky's the limit with how to just have, like, with where to go with just a simple setup like that. The Crazy Wabbit is in the chat, says, nice, I need to see this combo. Yeah, it's a pretty dope combo. It's a lot of fun. Anyways, if there are any more questions, let me know. I think that about does it, really. I've really enjoyed my time with this synth so far. I'm looking forward to diving in more to the sound design, to the sequencer. Again, it's just a step sequencer. It's not a track sequencer. But I think that brings us to the pros and cons, because I want to be fair with this. I think there are a lot of pros and I think there's some cons. As you saw, the sound design and getting lost in the performance of it is like my favorite thing about this, for sure. Because of this keyboard layout, it's very intuitive to just kind of play and go from there. And then there's all those options, like we were saying, with the chord follower. So you can set chords with just one button, and then you can have an arpeggio follow whatever chord you're hitting, so it keeps the arpeggiator fresh. Like it's always changing to sync with the chord you're playing. There's a lot of really cool chord packs in here as well. I think that's something we might have to do in a short, because we're running low on time. As I think hopefully this video showed, it's incredible for performance. Like that I think is where this shines. It's a performance synthesizer. And then the price, it's $500 for all of this. That's a really good price for what you get. But the cons, I think for me personally, I think not having like a sort of song mode or pattern sequencer, not just like a synth step sequencer, but a pattern sequencer, is a bit of a bummer, because I'd really like to have this to where I could do something programmed, like the chord pattern could be programmed, and then I'd have the two hands free to play the other synths on top, or, you know, sync the lead or something like that. I think that would be cool. You can kind of get around it with the sequencer, the step sequencer, and then, you know, holding shift and locking it in, right? You know, like it works, but I'd like to be able to recall things, you know. But again, that's where I think it's the performative groove box, like that. I don't think that's the term, but that's what I'm using to describe it. And then the last thing, navigating the presets, patches, getting into the synths. It's kind of a factor of just there's so much in here that it kind of has to be this way. But I'd love to see something in the scenes at least, and the presets, where if you're looking for a bass sound in the presets, you can select like basses, and it'll show you all the possible basses. Because otherwise, when you go into preset, I'm not sure if you can see the screen super well, but you can just go to those different options of like the ACD, FAT, WAVs, VAP, the grains, all that. But then once you go in it, it's just all of them right there. And sometimes these, you can see when I really start to scroll fast, it freezes sometimes and things like that. That's just probably something to round out in a firmware or something. But I'd love to see a little more kind of ability to choose, like I want synths right now, I want pads, I want a bass, you know. But just exploring and figuring it out is a lot of fun too, so it's all good. Lastly, I think next Saturday is going to be my last live stream of the year. We're just going to hang out, reflect on the year, kind of like all the crazy things happening for musicians right now with, like, I don't know if you saw, but Spotify, just something came out showing Spotify filling playlists with basically fake artists or whatever. So I want to talk about just like being an artist in this year, but we'll make a last beat of the year. I don't know if there's going to be, I don't think there's going to be any videos next week. It's the holidays. And then the week after that, I think we'll just do videos starting on Saturdays with live streams alternating in the new year, because it's been a busy couple months. So we need to pare it back a little bit. From that though, if you want to get these samples, they'll be up for Solar Sailors on the channel memberships. And then, yeah, I've got new t-shirts on my website, sunwarper.com, my new Spacebound T-shirt. They're pretty awesome. So if you want to check those out, help support the channel, it's there. If you are looking to get the Polyend Synth, I do have an affiliate link. So if you want to help support the channel, it's there. All right, I think that about does it. So with that, I think we'll end with that jam. I'm going to get back over to Wonky. While I do this jam, if you have any questions or anything, throw them in the chat. Psychrock says, great video, man. How's the velocity in your opinion? Yeah, it does have aftertouch and all of that type of stuff. I haven't really... I mean, there is velocity sensitivity, but I haven't really like messed with it a lot. So I'll look into that for the review. We will do a full review on this in probably the first or second week of January. So if you've got questions after this ends, if you're watching this back, you can throw them in the comments. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a really awesome little portable powerhouse, like without, for lack of a better term, like there's just so much here that I can have with, you know, a simple sampler or something. All right, I think, so I'm just thinking now layout, right? We've got our arpeggiator. I love that little wonkiness of that. We've got our lead and we have this. So I think we also have the sample of the pad. Oh, but it is a different volume. Let's just match the volume real quick. A little louder. That should be close enough. We'll go with that. So when we want to start playing the lead, I can turn on the loop, hopefully. I haven't rehearsed this jam, so it might be a little sloppy because we just made it. But I think that is the point, right? Just embrace that and have fun with these jams. That's my end goal here, is to show what I've really enjoyed with this synth is just the jamming. So that's what we're going to do. All right. If you got questions, throw them in the chat. But otherwise, yeah, we'll talk after the jam. I'm going to just mute the mic. All right, there we go. Last one. BotBot says, music production gets so technical at one point you stop having fun due to vast amounts of options. You can take your own personal sound. I think it might have cut off there, but yeah, I get what you mean. I mean, that's one of the things that got me away from the DAW for a lot of music making is the option paralysis, right? There's so much technicality that you can just tweak things with an EQ forever and never release it, just keep going with it and things like that. Or, you know, oh, the bass is too loud, then you lower that, then it changes something else, so you have to alter that. And it just became so technical that what I liked about DAWless setups and then the SP is just, you know, you make something, that's it. You could change it by redoing it, but then it loses that initial kind of vibe to it. And so you just kind of embrace the imperfections. And I think that's what drew me to this. Like I said, I'm a guitarist starting out. Like, that's how I got started. And I love performing on top of things and playing the guitar, right? And so now I can like play synths and chords, and there's like so much you can go. And there is a lot of depth here. You can go into all sorts of, you know, the chord packs and the followers and all that type of stuff. And we will get into more of that, but it's nice to just kind of go back, simplify it. Just keep simplifying it and find something that works for you in a simple setup, and then you can test out, like we've discussed, adding more things. Maybe for me, putting the Digitakt as a sequencer or something. But at a certain point, maybe you just want to enjoy the simplicity of it. Anyways, with that, I appreciate hanging out with you all. I know we're getting close to the holidays, so thanks for taking some time to hang out and watch this. Hopefully you got a good idea of what synth can do. This is just, again, my first impressions, but yeah, I think the best way to describe it for me is it's just fun. Like, it's just a lot of fun. So yeah, if you have questions after this ends, throw them in the chat. BotBot says, one day I will go DAWless, one day. Yeah, I mean, I don't like to look at it as an either or. It's kind of both and, right? Like, I start stuff in a DAWless setup, and then I'll move it either with overbridge on the Digitakt, or just like stem splitting, or just record a 2-track, or take the stems, and then I finish it in the DAW. But it's kind of getting past that initial option paralysis of I can just keep adding tracks and I could keep EQing and mixing and stuff. Like, just get through that first, and then I don't mind having all those options to kind of fine tune it and stuff like that. But yeah, bot. It is a lot of fun to have just gear that you can control and move around and stuff. All right, last thing I do want to do is just go over this poll one more time. How do you typically use synthesizers in your workflow? We've got 24 votes. Sequence them 29%, perform live on them 12%, both depending on the situation 46% and 12%. I don't yet, but I'm interested. So interesting split. I figured it would be both. That's kind of where I'm at, right? And yeah, I think something like the synth is awesome for that, because you can do both at the same time with the MIDI in, have something sequenced, and then perform on top of it. And I think long term, that's where we'll go. Anyways, like I said, I know it's the holidays. I appreciate you taking the time to hang out. If you got some value out of the video, hit like. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. We do live streams. It's going to be every other week, but currently every week. But yeah, last one of the year, next Saturday, 11 a.m. Pacific. And with that, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.